is Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views, a business resource show with a focus on enhancing the business environment through advocacy, mentoring, and education in an effort to promote economic growth. The Reidsville Chamber of Commerce is a membership organization in North Carolina, working on behalf of its members for the betterment of the community. With Chamber of Commerce News and Views you can use, here's Chamber President Diane Sawyer.
Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. I'm Diane Sawyer, and today I have with me Summer Woodard, our new City Manager for the City of Reidsville. Welcome to the show, Summer.
Thank you so much for having me on as a guest.
I am excited to have you. As most people know, this has been a process, right? Always a process to onboard a new person, to go through the interview process, and I have been blessed to be a part of that process from the beginning. So I'm excited to actually sit down and get to talk to you about some of the really awesome things that you've already been able to accomplish. So tell us a little bit about you and what brought you to Reidsville and how that all came about.
Certainly. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate your participation specifically in the interview process. You're very instrumental and a great part to Reidsville to bring on board, so we appreciate that. A little bit about myself. I'm Summer Woodard. I was born and raised in a small little mountain town called Franklin, North Carolina. Those who are not familiar with Franklin, we're about an hour and 15 minutes west of Asheville. Grew up there, 2004 graduate of Franklin High School. I then went on to Western Carolina University, and I was a double major in history and political science. So I did a 4-year track at Western Carolina University, and I graduated in 2008 from the Honors College with a double major in history and political science. I decided that I truly wanted to do something more with public service. And one of my professors at Western had encouraged me to look at the public administration process and the master's program. So I looked at that, and I immediately, once I graduated in 2008, I started my master's program at Western Carolina University. It was a 2-year program. It was a little unique in that it was not totally based at Western's campus. I actually had to drive 4 nights a week to UNC Asheville's campus. So that was kind of a challenge, especially during some of the winter nights, driving an hour and a half each way, because class was always from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. But I was very thankful. I did the 2-year track, so I graduated in 2010 with my master's degree. The caveat, though, which is interesting, in order to graduate with my master's, you had to do a 300-hour internship. And I chose to do an internship with my hometown for the town of Franklin. And that was a 3-month process. I started January of 2010 and actually stopped April of 2010. And during that, it was free labor. I was just looking for, some experience, and I was able to work in planning and zoning and HR and really just be able to dive in. So once I got finished with the program, it was coming time to graduate, and the town manager at the time asked if I would be interested in a part-time job. So being a college student at 24 years old, I was ready to take any opportunity. So once I graduated May of 2010, the following week, I started with the town of Franklin as a part-time customer service rep. I did everything from utility payments, accepting them, to tax payments, to meeting people on the worst day of their life because their water had been cut off, or on their best day of their life because they were opening a new business in town. So I worked in that position about 7.5 months. It was very glorifying in that it really makes me appreciate all that goes into local government, specifically those who work in customer service, because you see people on their best days and worst days, and you always get the brunt, whether that's positive or negative. So stayed there about 7 months, and then in December of 2010, a job came open as assistant to the town manager. And the town manager asked if I would be interested, and of course I said I would love to learn more. So I started serving in that capacity December 2010, and it's always unique in that my hire date, because I was part-time before, my full-time hire date in North Carolina retirement system is December 24th, 2010. And the town manager at the time said I would always remember the Christmas gift he gave me, because I became full-time in our system on Christmas Eve of 2010. So I started in that position, worked there from 2010 up until 2014. Now, during that whole process, I took on additional roles. I served a year and a half as Human Resource Director and Assistant to the Town Manager. So I had some varying roles during that time. However, our town manager decided to resign, and I was offered the opportunity in May of 2014 to serve as interim. So for a couple months I served as interim HR director and assistant to myself, I guess, at the time. But it was very fulfilling, and I was very grateful when the City Council asked me July 7th of 2014 if I'd accept the position full-time. And I did, and so I served as town manager for Franklin, which was my hometown, from July 7th of 2014 till June 7th of 2021. And so it was a very rewarding experience. I think one of the hardest things I ever did was actually be the manager of my hometown, because you do have those connections to where it's hard when someone, you know, they are facing their utility being cut off and you knew them as a child. I think that was one of the most challenging roles, was being a town manager at the age of 28 in your hometown. So that was a struggle. I had some personal issues in my life. I lost my mother in 2011 to cancer. I lost my grandfather to cancer in 2012, and then I lost my grandmother to cancer in 2018. So I'm an only child, so when I lost my family, Franklin didn't feel like home. And I've always felt the need to share that story because I've never wanted Reidsville to think she's just a job hopper, someone who's going here or there. I have only ever had one other position, that was with the town of Franklin for 11 years in local government. But when Franklin didn't start to feel like home, I started to look for another home because I had no family there. And I saw the opportunity for the city of Reidsville. I did some investigation. I really started to enjoy this area just looking at it because I felt like we have the hometown feel, but we're within 30 minutes of anywhere. And I'd much rather live in this beautiful little small quaint town than the city of Greensboro or High Point, because it just has such a charm. So I took a risk, applied, hoping I would go far. I was so ecstatic when I got the opportunity to come and meet you guys virtually and then actually come here and tour. And when I came here and toured, I just fell in love with it even more. It just felt like home. And it felt like that home I had been looking for that I lost with the loss of my family.
That story that you have actually shared with me before, I'm so glad that you were comfortable enough to share it on camera, because I do think that is really important, and it's a part of who you are and where you come from and all of those things. I believe everything happens for a reason, and I think I've shared that with you. And so your story of your opportunities in college and your opportunities in the town of Franklin and how it was your hometown, and that's very similar to my own story and how I ended up deciding to take this job at the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, just because when you are in public service, you want to give back to something that is rewarding to your community and your family and the place that you live in. So it's so interesting to me that you say that, because really and truly that transition from Franklin to Reidsville was because you were like, this, you know, this doesn't feel like home anymore. So we are really thankful to have you. I think that you have got a lot of great ideas and things that, one of the first things that I'm really excited about is how you want to make everything beautiful. And we've already experienced a little bit of that, and I know there's some bigger plans coming for the holidays, but tell us a little bit about like downtown and just your ideas for that and sort of what you've already been working towards and some of the things you've accomplished with that already.
So thank you for that. So one of the biggest things that I noticed getting here was we have got a great team. I think the whole team concept of Team Reidsville is embodied everywhere, from City Hall to our relationship with you at the Chamber to our relationship with RDC. Like, that whole team mentality speaks volumes to me, and I'm so happy we can all work together and capitalize on that momentum. So that is one thing I really look forward to, is continuing those relationships, because I feel like the city's relationship with the Chamber and RDC, we're at an all-time high, and we've got to keep those relationships going for the benefit of everyone, from our residents to our businesses, because times are so uncertain right now. So any ways we can do to work together. A couple of the things that I really wanted to focus on, and our city had already started that, was a downtown streetscape. So I believe we stumbled across a plan like from 1993, and a lot of that's already been accomplished on Market Street in Gilmer. So one thing I would like us to work on is continuing that streetscape idea, because economic development is great, especially when you have industries coming here, but we also need to capitalize on ways that once those industries are here, the citizens that we have and our residents, they have something to come do. They have the opportunity to come visit our downtown, go in our stores. So any improvements we can make, whether that's something as additional flowers or something as small as, you know, a hay bale, which I think you guys have done an immaculate display outside, something that just makes our town inviting. One thing I've learned in my time in local government is we can spend $5 million on a water line and no one will ever see it. And you can invest $1,000 in some plantings and for something to do downtown. And so many people appreciate that because they can see it. They can see the benefit of it. So that's one thing I want to continue doing, is looking at some streetscape ideas. I think what we do with the festivals and events, the partnerships with the Chamber and RDC, I think those are things we should continue to capitalize on, because it also brings, you know, visitors from downtown. They may see something that they like and they may see a building that they're interested in. But I really think downtown revitalization is key to economic development and can really position us for the continued growth that we're experiencing and will continue to experience.
I completely agree, and I think that you are spot on with that. That's something that we've been talking a lot about. The Chamber, you know, the membership and the business community, there are a lot of times where we're trying to do things with them and it's really visible, they can reach out and touch it and they can see it, and then we've had to focus a lot of internal, you know, and so it's like you said, the water line that nobody sees, the infrastructure that nobody really realizes unless they're the businesses that are directly affected or the citizens that are directly affected by that. So it is really important. It's important for people to see us out there. And the Team Reidsville concept, for me, when that all started, was such a movement because everybody is on the same team. The idea that the citizens, the businesses, the chamber, the nonprofits, City Hall, the fire, the police, the Reidsville Downtown Corporation, the Main Street program, like everybody, we're all on the same team. And, you know, just when you go out and you're wearing a Team Reidsville shirt or a Team Reidsville visor, or, you know, we're starting to plaster that everywhere and people are like, oh yeah, what's this Team Reidsville thing? And, you know, some people get confused, like they might think it's related to the football team or it's, but it was, again, it was around that concept that that's something we could hold on to and that people talk about, and we want to draw people here for all of those reasons. So one of the things that you said to me, or I had heard from your team, was the pictures. Like, we want people to come down. And so we already had this Project Dream. We had already had all these beautiful murals and different public art displays that were happening. But like you said, my staff has done a great job. I had a vision and I wanted to keep adding to it. And I was like, no, we're not there yet. And we want to add some more lights here, or we want to do this. But the day that I walked outside and somebody was standing out there taking a picture in front of our display outside, and I was like, yep, that's it. We've reached it. We've done it. There are people who are coming and stopping and taking pictures, and that's what we want. Like, we want that hometown feel. We want that everybody feels like they own it, they're a part of it. They want to be a part of that display or take a picture to document it. So I think we, in a really short amount of time, have accomplished that. But that was the big thing, right? Like, when we were getting into the interview process, all the chatter was, we really want somebody who's going to come in and take this Team Reidsville thing and run with it. They're going to own it. They're going to become a part of it, and they're going to take it to the next level. I'll never forget Economic Development Director and I talking about that. Jeff was like, this is such a good thing for us. And he was like, we really want our new city manager to feel like they're a part of Team Reidsville and that we're all a part of Team Reidsville, and then we just move it forward. And you have done that, like, I think beyond anybody's wildest dreams of what that could have been. So we're really thankful for you and for that piece of it. So that's a little bit sort of about downtown revitalization. I know there's a lot of other things, like the city of Reidsville did a really great job of moving through COVID and just kind of continuing. Even if it slowed projects down, they still pushed forward, and government moves slow, right? So they were kind of used to things being slow, but it slowed some things down, but we were still working on things. So Tell us, like, what are your visions and your goals for moving some of these things forward? And, like, what do you see the city of Reidsville doing?
I appreciate that. And I think one of the biggest things, too, is housing. Housing in Reidsville, whether, we definitely have got to look at some housing options. One thing being new to the area that I've struggled with myself is the market's just insane. I mean, there's homes that are going for $400,000 and $500,000, and that's not feasible. So one thing I would like us to continue on, and I know staff has done a great job, promotion from chamber and businesses about getting individuals here, is getting some affordable homes here, because we're struggling, and it's not for lack of trying, it's just we've really taken off. And I think you and I've had the discussion too with some connections with Danville and all the growth that Dansville is experiencing. And one of the things, as you and I've spoke, we don't want us to get behind that growth, where let's be prepared, let's have things in place such as housing opportunities, because all those people working at the casino, they will have to have somewhere to live. And I mean, we're in a great proximity, a drive distance. So for us to be prepared for that growth, I think is crucial. And one thing I'd like us to continue to work on is being prepared, and not when that growth is here going, I wished we had thought about that before.
Absolutely. And I think in our discussions about that, we held the transportation forum pretty much kind of right before COVID. It was like September 2019, and trying to make sure that the business community understood where we were going with some of the DOT projects, not just 785, but some of the other ones that were leading in and out of Reidsville, and how that connected us to other parts of our county, how it connected us to the airport, how it connected us to Danville. And so I think that being able to plan, even though just in the day-to-day life the citizens don't see it, some of the businesses do recognize it, but they don't see what's coming, and they don't understand. I mean, when you Google Maps or MapQuest or whatever you use, from right here in the chamber office to where the casinos are going to be, like 20 minutes. And so that 500-room hotel and casino is going to have such a broad reach. And like you said, I mean, there are going to be people who need to live. There are going to be other businesses and other vendors that are going to pop up, and because of them. And then even people who don't want to be, there might be people in Danville who say, this is getting too big for us. We don't want to be a part of this. We want that small town feel. So we're going to look at other places, and why not Reidsville? I mean, it's just another great place to live and work and raise a family and have access to all of this. Right before we started taping this, we had a gentleman come in who was looking at a building, wanting to know about what's happening in Reidsville, and I could hear the sort of the chatter in the lobby of just the staff talking to them about everything. And you think we have the casino, and now we have the Tanger. We were just discussing, I mean, you just were there. I mean, it was Broadway shows 30 minutes from Reidsville in Greensboro, which we've not had, and that was slowed down because of COVID, but now it's open and they're having the shows. The Lion King's coming in the spring. They're going to be all these great things that you can live here, still experience city life and not have to live there. And so we're just posed for so much growth in the next 3 to 5 years and then 10 years. And I think that it really takes hard work, but it takes a vision, and it takes a team working together and not against each other. So you've inherited a really great team, but you also are moving that forward in a way that I think is going to make things very successful. What do you think about, as far as moving forward and looking at, there's a lot of key positions that you've either already had to hire for, you're currently hiring for, or that are getting ready to come up. What do you think that landscape looks like as all of these city folks with all these knowledge are transitioning? How is that going to work?
That's a great question. There are a lot of we have some of our staff, they've been there for 40 plus years. And that knowledge that they hold is invaluable. You can't put any type of value on that. But we are going to have a lot of transition, and that's where I think it's going to take us as a team to be prepared to how we go through that transition. And being cognizant of who are in those positions and the benefit that they can offer our residents and citizens. Because one thing definitely we want to focus on, I think the Chamber's done a great job, is being business friendly. and being, open door policies in that, you can look in one spot to where if you're wanting to start a business, this is what you need to do. I want us to continue that momentum that we've built and the partnerships we've built on doing that. The one thing that I think we will struggle, just like all employers are struggling right now, is actually having applicants for those jobs. I shared a story when I got in local government 11 years ago. A job in local government, there were 40 applications ahead of me. It was the most sought after job in any local government. And now we have a public works position and we've got maybe 5 applicants throughout the entire state. It's an interesting transition that we're all facing. And I do believe some of this is, due to the pandemic and coming out of it. But that is going to be a challenge for us as local government, nonprofits, is just getting that workforce that has that dedication. I know I read a study where I think it was Starbucks and another one was Apple in, I believe in California. They had done a poll and asked their employees, the employee could either take $30,000 up front or the employee could stay at home and work from home. And over 60% of those chose to give up the $30,000 and work from home. And I think that's just a realization that we're going to have to face as a society, and specifically here in Reidsville, is just the workforce that we have.
Absolutely. And so it's funny that you say that about workforce. There's a lot of things that are kind of bubbling to the top, things that we're kind of looking at and trying to formulate. There's some different things. There's the North Carolina Family Forward Project, and it's all about trying to make employers look at their policies and understand that if their employees feel like their families are cared for and that they're safe, that they'll be better employees and they'll have less absenteeism and more productivity. But also, I think people realized during the pandemic they missed being at home. Okay. They just, while they were quarantined, they were like, wow, this slowdown of life, we like this, and that money's not everything and the jobs aren't everything. And I think that it's a time where, I've seen it shared on Facebook. People are talking about other countries and how their leave is this way or that way and their health care is this way or that way, and how we have prided ourselves on corporate America and just like carried it around like I'm a workaholic. And so there's a fine line and a balance there, and you would think, like city government's like a great place. Like it's usually a lot of those jobs are Monday through Friday during those service hours, but then there are jobs that they're after hours, or they come in a little bit earlier and leave earlier, or they're specifically event jobs. But it's tough. We're down an employee at the chamber, and we're going to be doing the same thing, like trying to figure out what's next for us. So while there's great initiatives like Rocket Top, and there are these career paths that high school students can take, and I think they're going to help fill some of these trade jobs, I do think that some of the employers and some of the businesses are going to struggle to continue to go through this transition, because I think a lot of 30-something-year-olds to 60-something-year-olds are looking at themselves and going, what do I really want out of life? What do I really think is important, and reprioritizing everything. So it is a struggle, and we are going to have to just all keep working together and developing, ideas and things that come out of the partnerships we already have to make it work. The biggest thing I think I have told people is if the world could just understand like a little more kindness, a little more grace. Like grace has been our big word. Like I've told people over and over, like you're going to have to give them grace. Like these restaurants, they're struggling. They are trying to get employees, and there's been a shift. Like you can't go out past 7:30 and get a decent meal if you don't go ahead and go, because they're closing up because they don't have enough employees, and people are not coming out like they used to. It was nothing, at 9 o'clock you could go out and get a meal. There was still a restaurant open during the week after a ball game or something, and it's tough to find a good one now with a family. So I do think that it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just different. So how do we figure out different? So I do think that the events and things like the outdoors, like it's so obvious, like that people have been really excited to be outside. But then we have a couple of great things happening for us that are like that. So let's talk about that. So we have Gilmer Street, we have Lucky City Brewing, and we have this, really speaking of event venues, now we've got this showcase theater that is going to bring just wonderful national recording acts to us. So let's talk a little bit about like how you see that. They're all kind of all started happening at the same time. Like projects have been worked on and they're finally started opening kind of here a couple of weeks ago. And what does that look like for us? What do you think that means?
I think the growth that we're experiencing in the nightlife here, I'm certain, it's been so nice the last few weekends to drive through town and see town loaded with cars. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the opening act at the theater, and afterwards, just the hustle and bustle of people downtown, it just gave a new breath of air that I think we've been looking for, and we've finally been able to capitalize on that. Same thing with Lucky City Brewery. I think that is a wonderful addition to our town. One of the things that a brewery can do is be an anchor for a downtown, because they draw that nightlife. They draw those that are wanting to come out in a family-friendly atmosphere. We also have, a great addition. We've got a new bed and breakfast getting ready to open, Shea Lindsay, which to me, you've got those individuals coming in for a show. They want to go to the brewery and get a drink, then they have a place to stay as well. So I think this also positions us really well for our tourism.
Absolutely. I think we'll be in a great place to have tourism packages and be able to promote those. And I think there's some really cool things happening across the county that we can package together, festivals and things, but I think that Reidsville is going to be the draw. I think that we are going to be the most consistent, whereas right now tourism has been events, and mostly events and not really destinations unless there were weddings. Even in some of these event venues, they've had to create festivals to draw people. And now we're going to have something that's consistent. I mean, we have two things that are super consistent right here together, and then they're going to build on all of that. And so I think in our community, the outdoors and the recreation and the things at Lake Reidsville and all of that is just starting to really come together. So.
And I think you used a key word right there, is destination town. That is a key word that I think we should continue to market ourselves as, because I do feel like we are becoming that destination city.
Absolutely. And we're a destination for our own citizens.
We are.
On the weekends. I mean, oh my gosh. I was just looking at the showcase. I told somebody, I was like, I'm going to spend my whole paycheck on all these concerts coming up, because I'm really excited about several. I mean, we've got Terry Clark coming, Lee Greenwood's coming, Colin Ray is coming. I mean, they've just released all these dates, and I was like, I want to go to all of these shows. So
I'll be right there with you, so let me know.
And the tickets are limited, so I mean, it's just going to be great. So. Well, we are out of time. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we didn't cover, or anything you'd like to say, or that you'd want the citizens of the businesses to know?
I just really look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve as your city manager, and I have an open door policy. So please feel free to come by and see me, or email me, or call me anytime. And I just really want to thank you, Diane, for the opportunity to come and sit down and chat with you today. And thank you and your staff do wonderful things for our city, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we are very appreciative of you, and we are thankful for the continued partnership. It has been many, many years of working together, and we want to continue to see that happen. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's it for the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you soon.